We're here today because of Ziggy extending that deal, and that is just music to my ears and all the fansies.
Yeah, look, obviously Ziggy came in last year, and I think anyone who watched any Mariners games last year would have seen someone who's determined and committed and gave 100% of his effort every single game and showed that real strength of character week in, week out, and was one of very few players to basically play every minute for us. A really important part of our team last year, and a building block to hopefully build around this year as well.
Did he end up winning the Fans Player of the Year?
He got one of the Fans Awards, yeah.
Yeah, so that says it all, doesn't it? The guy that just gives everything for the shirt.
Yeah, I think everyone can see that. It's plain to see. He gives everything he's got at training. He gives everything he's got in matches. He's just one of those people who you just know what you're going to get every week. It's an 8 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, or a 10 out of 10 match. And they're the reliable people and ones that you build teams around. So we're really pleased to have him back again.
He spoke about the mix of players in the squad, and he just said there's numerous leaders and future leaders that have recommitted or re-signed with the Mariners. Do you agree?
Yeah, look, it's a massive focus. I've mentioned it numerous times since I arrived at the club from day one that building a club from rock bottom is all about leadership within the playing group, and having someone like Ziggy stay at the club is important. Having people like Simo's really important. Having people like Ollie Bozanic is really important. So we've got a core group of youngsters that we're rebuilding this club with. So those three, and include Beers in that conversation as well. Those 3 or 4 characters have got such an important job in not only leading the team off the field, as we've mentioned many times, but also off it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said off it, because they're the kind of characters you bringing to the football club as well. What they're like off the field, and we were just joking about the fact that he's the king of Terrigal, but he actually engages with the fans and tries to rally them to get behind the club. Yeah,
look, I think he brings a little bit of that old spirit of the club back that the club was founded on. When Laurie first took the team, he knew one of the A-League, the community club, the club that's attached to the, to the fans and to the people around. So, it's a really important focus, and one where I think the club has, I wouldn't say lost its way, but perhaps the connection to the local fan base and the club has diminished over the recent years, and really it should be the strength. That being a regional centre should be the strength of clubs like Central Coast, and when you look around the world, the biggest clubs in the world are all regional centres. They're not capital cities. So I think it's a really important aspect for Central Coast to embrace, to have that real connection and regional focus and tribalism in the local context.
Yeah, great answer. Stabs, you've had a couple of trials. Tell us more.
Yeah, look, we've had a couple of hit-outs. We played Sydney a couple of weeks ago and played Newcastle, and they're important hit-outs for different reasons, for different players. People like Ollie Bozanic and a couple of others haven't played since pre-COVID, so just getting minutes in the legs. And then we've got some young players who it's a big moment, playing against a big club like Sydney, and even the Jets who had a really good squad out there. And then there's other people who are just on trial. So, from different perspectives, they're really important hit-outs for us.
Yeah. Hey, I saw something pop up the other day, and I haven't watched it, and I don't know whether NBN's asked you about it, but the documentary, was it from Ben Coonan? And we are talking about the Aloisi moment at ANZ on the eastern sideline. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it wasn't really the Aloisi moment. It was the Bresciano. If you've seen the documentary, I just happened to be sitting next to Bresciano's dad at the time and didn't know who he was. And it was a pretty special moment when his son scored the goal, and he reached over and said that was his son. And the pride and the emotion in him at that time was, something special. So something I'll never forget. But it was a miraculous night for Australian football. Having lived through, I remember going to my first Socceroos qualifier when I was 7 at the old sports ground, and we lost to New Zealand, and then suffering for 25 years to get to that point. There was a lot of built-up tension and emotion, and the roller coaster of Australian football. And I went down to Melbourne for that Iran debacle, and having ridden that whole wave of emotion of Australian football, like all the passionate fans have, to finally have that elation on that night was something special.
Yeah.
Staj, you touched on the Ollie Roos a moment ago. How good was it to see a couple of our boys out there getting some time as well, and how important is it that those youth guys can get that game time and be important this season? Yeah,
look, our boys apparently did really well at camp, showed a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and as a result got a lot of game time. Kai started both games, Dan Bowman started one, Piercy didn't get on, unfortunately, but it was good for him to get a recall into that team as well. based on just his training here and John Crawley having a look at him. So, look, really exciting for the club to have 3 potential players. Danny De Silva was also invited into camp, but he suffered an injury the week before, so he didn't go down. And we've also got Gianni, who's representing New Zealand. So just to have 5 players potentially going to the Olympics next year, and obviously other youngsters who are in our club who can put their hand up during the A-League season, is a real feather in our cap, and something that, again, looking back at the history of the club, this club was founded on the connection to the community, young players being given an opportunity, and that's something that we really have to rebuild.
Yeah, and just finally, we touched on Ollie a bit before. How have you found it now working with him for sort of just over a month? What he brings in terms of experience, being at the club and during the successful period?
Look, Ollie trained with us post-COVID as just came down just wanting to have a run and just come into a training session. There was no intent to actually sign at that point, but just to see his level of professionalism is a notch above, and to see what separates, I guess one elite athlete from another, and for him to come in that period and show the dedication, the determination, the leadership, bringing our youngsters aside and giving them some advice when he really had no other motive to do so other than to come here on his own and have a bit of a run was really special to see. And now having worked with him as a team member for a couple of months, he's just such a top pro. We use that word pretty loosely sometimes, but he loves the game, he's dedicated, he's disciplined, he's got all the attributes that you'd expect from someone who's played at the highest level and played for our country as many times as he has. So he's going to be a really important cog for us in this year's A-League season.